Outlander is one of the most popular series on television and has kept us entertained since 2014. The tale of Outlander is an epic love story between Jamie and Claire, with wild adventures and moments of extreme violence. Many new characters have taken the show to the next level, even after making a debut in the later seasons. What characters have been loved the most? And what are the reasons they have impacted the show on a significant level, even after popping up later on? Well, let's find out what are the best Outlander characters who got introduced after the first season. What is Outlander all about? The narrative follows the story of Claire Randall, a married combat nurse from 1945, who was mysteriously swept back in time to 1743. She's then immediately thrown into an unknown world, where her life gets threatened. Claire is also forced to marry Jimmy Fraser, a romantic young Scottish warrior. A passionate relationship is ignited that tears Claire's heart between the two vastly different men, and two irreconcilable lives to make things even more complicated. Brief backgrounds of characters. The antagonist, John Randall, looks exactly like Claire's husband in the 20th century. Randall chases Claire and Jamie in the first two seasons, making lives very difficult for them and causing them trauma. Another character, Fergus Fraser, formerly known as Claudel, is a French immigrant to the American colonies via Scotland. Born in Paris, he grew up in a brothel, not knowing who his true parents were. In 1744, while Jamie and Claire Fraser lived in Paris, Jamie hired Fergus as a pickpocket and gave him his new Scottish name. Fergus became more of a son to Jamie and Claire. His friendly and caring personality endears them. Number 9. Stephen Bonnet. Stephen Bonnet is a character who keeps popping back into the lives of Claire and her family like a bad penny. He first appeared in the 4th season of the show. He is a pirate smuggler and a part-time murderer. Overall, he's quite a scandalous character. Jamie and Claire Fraser first met him as they left Charleston, South Carolina. Since he's quite villainous, he is most likely said to be one of the best characters introduced later on. Stephen's most hated act is probably putting Brianna in his cabin. It's censored because it was a foul thing to do. The second time he kidnaps Brianna, he has a lovemaking with a prostitute and forces her to watch the act. She is then made to sleep next to him at night. Bonnie even takes Brianna to his house, where he proposes her for sale to prospective buyers. He was also inclined to toss passengers off his ship, whether or not they were impacted by smallpox. Bonnet is despicable, and this also characterizes his marking as one of the most hated characters on the show. Quite interesting, right? Number 8. Roger Mackenzie. Since Roger Mackenzie was introduced in the series back in the 3rd season, everybody loathes him. He isn't the kind of person who is completely against the lead characters, contrary to popular belief. Surprisingly, the reason most of the fans don't like him a lot is because of his double standards and hypocritical morals. Roger openly degraded Brianna over her sexuality, while he had quite questionable relationships in the past himself. He also tries to manipulate people and is a bit controlling and overbearing when unnecessary. Fans also grew more hateful towards Roger after he rejected Brianna for her past sexual assault. The books add context to his character as well. It's easy to forget while watching the show that Roger is a straight white man raised in rural Scotland by a minister in 1940. This is why he has had some notions drilled into him by his upbringing. Brianna is only 8 years younger than he is, but she was raised by Claire in Boston. That's a very different place to grow up. Some fans say that Roger may have not been born 250 years ago, but he was born nearly 100 years ago. Number 7. Marcelly. Making her debut in the 3rd season of the show, Marcelly isn't too much of an impactful character, but she is one of the most loved ones in the show. She married our favorite Fergus. She's not only smart, but also quite intelligent, both emotionally and mentally. What made Marcelly one of the most loved female characters on the show was that she had a mind of her own and did what she wanted to do on her terms. It initially appeared like Marcelly would be heading the grievance her mother held against Claire, but it all changed when she began her romance with Fergus. It's no surprise that she ended up being one of the most supported actresses on the show. Number 6. Lecomte Saint-Germain. This character was first introduced in the 2nd season and added an antagonistic flavor to the show. Germain had this attribute where he could go to any length to get what he wanted. Perhaps we would have had a different feeling if he hadn't tried to kill Claire twice. He once tried to kill her by poisoning her, but after he failed to do so, he tried to kill Claire by hiring criminals. This is why he isn't liked a lot by the viewers. Le Comte Saint-Germain is actually played by a French actor named Stanley Weber. So who is this guy and why should fans be worried about him? Well, for starters, he and Claire did not get off to a very promising beginning. When Claire pronounced her smallpox, it resulted in the destruction of his ship and all of his occupancies on board. This guy is not going to be too hospitable to losing so much money at her expense and will aspire to retaliation against our beloved Sassenach. Number 5. Lord John Grey. Making his debut appearance in Season 2, John was a supporting character who was developed to be liked by fans. John is a sensible and adorable boy, despite his political position, where he works for the British government. The character still manages to be a symbol of trust and positivity. John Grey is an English soldier and diplomat. He comes across Jamie Fraser at the age of 16, before the Battle of Prestonpans. The two do not encounter each other again until he becomes the governor of Ardmere, a Scottish prison. They develop a strong friendship, which soon becomes mixed up by the fact that Lord John has fallen in love with Jamie. Number 4. Bonnie Prince Charlie. Bonnie appeared in the second season of Outlander. He deserves a spot on this list, as his character was quite annoying. The character of the prince was made to be somewhat of an idiot. The fans pointed out that his character wasn't developed in the first place, and he wasn't as evil as the Duke of Sandringham. His presence had a lot to offer to the series. Charles was born in the Palazzo Muti, Rome, Italy. His father had been provided a home, and he spent almost all his childhood in Rome and Bologna. His childhood in Rome was one of ownership. He was also brought up in a Catholic household, in a loving but quarrelsome family. Being, in their own opinion, the last truthful heirs of the House of Stuart, his family lived with a sense of pride. Number 3. Fergus. Fergus appeared in the second season of the show and added humor to the series. Young Fergus did have some impressive qualities, such as loyalty, which became one of the reasons why he was liked by the fans. He later revealed that he had survived sexual abuse and crazy torture by the Redcoats. It hurts that both young and old Fergus didn't get enough screen time, but both the actors who played in different timelines were loved by fans. Sadly, they aren't in the show anymore, but they added great flavor while their characters lasted. Number 2. Philip Wiley. The character of Philip Wiley appeared in the 4th season of the show, but still managed to become a hit. Philip is a character who heavily powders his face and leads a cheap lifestyle despite coming into a lot of money. Although he constantly finds himself in high society, this doesn't reflect in his manner or behavior. To make things for himself, he once tried to force himself on Claire, and this is what fans completely needed to hate him for. Number 1. Governor Tryon. Tryon was introduced in the 4th season of the show as a minor character. The governor was immediately detested by anyone who saw him on screen, playing a typical British senior officer of that time. He portrays a wicked, egotistic image who always wants to be in charge. This character is played by Tim Downey and is a typical image of British senior officers. But all of this wasn't enough for fans to dislike him until he forced Jamie into wearing the red coat, which was the uniform of the British Army during the battle. He was keen to kill the regulators and cause loss of lives rather than opt for the truth. Tryon was also responsible for the death of one of the most beloved characters on the show, Myrta. He would have been alive if it weren't for Tryon. This makes his character interesting, and the story moves forward, expanding his personality. Let us know who your favorite character is, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.